The Equalizer 3 was on my top 10 most anticipated movies of this year. So did it measure up? Yeah, it's the best of the whole series. Now, I admit that while The Equalizer 3 was on my top 10 most anticipated, I can't say that I had this feeling it was going to be better than the first. The first is my favorite. I rewatched it recently so that Arturo could see it for preparation for a live stream discussion we had for the year that it came out. I have not rewatched the second one. I wish I had now, honestly, in preparation for this, but I just remember that the second one was not my favorite. So I wasn't sure whether the third movie was going to continue the trend of, what usually happens in movie series where the sequels just get weaker and weaker. That is not the case with this movie. I actually really enjoyed this film. I felt like by the time it was done, that for me, it was the best in the series. Now, I had forgotten that, oh gosh, what's the guy's name? The director's name? Antoine Fuqua? Whatever. He directed the first one. I didn't realize that. He also directed Training Day. And while I liked, in addition to Southpaw, which doesn't have Denzel in it, but I don't think it does. And while I liked the first Equalizer better than the second, I feel like technically, having rewatched Equalizer not terribly long ago, technically, Training Day is a better movie. The Equalizer, I noticed upon rewatch, it didn't feel like it flowed as smoothly as I had remembered it flowing. And there were issues I had with some of the way the sequences carried out. So I just find it interesting that it was directed by the same guy who did Training Day. Anyway, he's a competent director, but I felt like his work in Training Day was better than his work in the first Equalizer. And this movie, I feel like his work is better than the first Equalizer as well. This particular entry is the final in the series. Apparently, it's all done after this. There are no post-credit scenes. I did check to see. I didn't wait through. I just looked up to find out. And no, there's no post-credit scene. This is done. This is advertised as the final. I do believe them that this is the final. So no more, what's his character's name? Robert McCall. I think that's his character's name. I'm so bad with character names sometimes, it's ridiculous. Anyway, the film starts off, so in the trailer, it's showing people going through this house and there's all these dead bodies. Well, that's how the film starts off, basically. There are some things that happen in that intro which, by the way, that opening, there's a fight or action or killing sequence that happens in the intro that is absolutely badass. I mean, it does not hold back. And I loved how that was choreographed. It was very short, did not last long. But one of the things I really liked about what was done in this film was the action was not over the top and ridiculous. Like the fight choreography wasn't crazy. It wasn't unbelievable. It was fast. It was convincing. I thoroughly believed that Denzel Washington was capable of kicking ass the way he did in this movie. And I really like how that was done. Something that bothers me about action films or fight choreography is sometimes it goes on too long, and it becomes, the longer it goes on, the more evident it becomes that it's choreographed. That didn't feel like the case here. Honestly, it was choreographed, it was edited, it was shot so well, and it was over with pretty quickly. It wasn't protracted, drawn out, long. I was impressed. And I liked the narrative, the way it played out. I liked the pacing in this film. What made this film Turo's here. What made this film a little different from the first one, I don't remember much about the second, but what made this film a little bit different from the first one was that, so in the first one, he's trying to help this girl. The second one, I don't recall, but I thought it was like another person or whatever he was trying to help. In this one, it's not so much one person, it's like this whole town. He's like the lone Magnificent Seven. He's like the Magnificent Seven without the other six. That was kind of the scenario of this movie. And I liked that difference of it. I liked also how they showed, so there's this thing that happens to him in the beginning. And I thought, oh, okay, the rest of the movie is going to be a flashback told, shown to us what happens to him leading up to this point. No, that was not the case. I liked that my expectations were subverted in different moments. I thought I knew what was going to happen. No, it happened completely differently. I thought I knew the way the narrative was going to go. No. As the movie goes on, you start to figure out, okay, well, this is going to happen just because it's happened enough by that point in the movie that you can pretty well guess how things are probably going to play out. But initially, leading up to all that, there are narrative choices made that are a bit different than what is typically done in a film like this. So I really like that. I also liked that there was a touch. Tifa! Artur, can you please remove yourself? Wait, let me finish up my review. I'm trying to finish and she keeps barking.
You want to grab her so I can grab her?
I can't grab her.
What review are you doing?
I'm doing a review for the Equalizer.
Oh, did you like it?
Yes. Yes, it's better than the first two.
Okay, well, I need to watch the second one.
Yeah, you do, and I wish I had rewatched the second one too. I was saying that. I can't grab her. I'm trying to.
She's right there.
You little monster. Okay. I'll try to finish pretty quickly so you can come in here. I forgot what the heck I was saying. Oh, I know what I was saying. I know what I was getting ready to say. It's all Arturo's fault, Tifa's fault. Tifa really does not like him. What was I saying? Okay, no. I was saying I like that there was a touch of comedy. It wasn't so much that it was ridiculous, but there were just these little, like at least twice, little tiny slivers of humor. Some people in the audience laughed a bit. And it fit well. It kind of was a reflection of his character. Something else I appreciated about this film is that he remains an enigma throughout all of this. And yet, we're around him enough that we feel like we know him, even though we don't really fully know where he came from, who exactly he is. This dude is a force to be reckoned with. We have no clue, for sure. And I like that they kept that. I like that they did not reveal these things about him. Now, I've seen some people compare this to like the Taken movies or maybe John Wick, the John Wick series. I like this series better than John Wick. Yes, I said it. To some fans of John Wick, that may seem blasphemous, but I like the character depth in here. Now, the first John Wick was really good, but the series goes downhill from there for me, especially after the second movie. This film series, even though I didn't like the second movie as much as the first, I have more connection with the character that Denzel plays in here. And I like how the narrative plays out. I like how it's more believable than a lot of the scenarios we're given in the John Wick types of movies, and even in the Taken movies, I feel like this is a really solid wrap-up entry in the series, and I think that most fans will be pretty satisfied. I knew I was going to forget something. I had it written down and I just jumped right on over it when I was talking. Something else that I really liked about this film was the location. It was very beautiful, very cinematic, and different from the other two, which I believe took place in the States. This takes place in a quaint little town in Italy, maybe somewhere in Sicily. Anyway, it was gorgeous, and I like that change of scenery enough that I wrote it down, but completely forgot to mention it in my review. Okay, back to the video. I also liked other technical aspects like the cinematography. I felt like the cinematography in this movie was better than even in the first movie. You know how I mentioned some of the editing and the narrative felt a little clunky? In this movie, certain things would be happening, certain moments of violence, and then it would cut away and show inanimate objects in the room, just like a statue of whatever. And it was a very effective technique. I don't know how to describe how it made me feel, but I think when you're watching it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just interesting. Like, they don't focus overly much on the violence that's happening, and cutting it up, breaking it up like that, and just showing it to you in little segments really makes it feel more punchy or effective or sobering. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I liked pretty much everything about this. There was one thing that happened that I wrote down as a con. It was something that happened in the beginning. It was a mistake he made. You guys will know it as soon as it happens. And I remember when it happened, I was thinking, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. Something's good. And sure enough, and obviously this thing had to happen because it was part of the narrative, because that's what carries him to this location where most of the story plays out, where he's in this town. So I get that this was a thing that needed to occur, but I felt like the way that part was written, I don't know. Maybe it's conducive to his character, but the cynic in me was immediately skeptical and felt like a mistake was being made, and yeah, mistakes were made. So that's really the only thing that kind of puts itself in the con category. Everything else I felt was really well done. The movie clocks in at under 2 hours. It's about 1 hour and 49 runtime. That of course includes the credits. And I felt like the pacing was really good. I wondered a bit about Dakota Fanning's character. Like, who is this chick? Is she just in here just because, you know, she and Denzel were in a movie together and, oh, that's cool, let's join them up again. You know, she's all grown up and all this. They do explain to you eventually why she's the character that she, like, why her presence is in here. Not necessarily Dakota the actor, but the character. And I felt like that was an interesting twist. I liked how that was done. I really like this character that Denzel plays. And now that the series is over with, I am absolutely going to be adding this to my collection. At some point, you know, they're going to sell the whole, like, the box set, and I will be adding all of these to my collection. And since The Equalizer 2 is a 2018 film, I will be rewatching it soon with Arturo, and we'll probably go to rewatch Equalizer 3 with him on the big screen after he sees the second one. So yeah, enjoyed this film. Recommend it to you guys. If you're a fan of Denzel, if you're a fan of Antoine Fuqua, if you're a fan of this director, if you're a fan of The Equalizer, I think you will be satisfied with this. I liked that things were done differently, that I wasn't expecting. I can't say that everything took me completely by surprise, like I said, but I really liked the way certain things played out. You think, oh, I know, this thing's going to happen. This climax is going to be this way, and there's going to be this, and there's going to be... No, it didn't happen the way I expected, and I like that. I did. So I think that's all I have to say about this. I'm going to wrap it up and try to get it up in time for tomorrow. By tomorrow, this movie will have been in theaters already a week, so some of you may have already seen it. Let me know what you think about it. Curious to hear whether you guys liked it as much as I did. Okay, that's it for this one. Later, guys.